Hey again, guys. I wanted to jump on here and do a follow-up to my video uh, entitled A Serious Hobby Discussion. And I want to thank Mike Baseball Collector for his thoughts in his video. I want to thank Shout Out Sports Card Show who talked about it. And I want to thank James, Elite Hunters. We just had a fantastic, I think, discussion. Last night we went live and we did some follow-up discussion on this, among other things. And I have to say, I think it was a very interesting discussion. On those lives, a lot of times we go off topic, we get on tangents. Sometimes maybe, we talk too much or whatever. I thought that was a really great conversation, and James really pushed it along and kept it on point. And just want to thank you, James. I may ramble on here a little bit because I'm trying to organize my thoughts. There have been so many comments, and some of what I said, I think, could be misconstrued, and that's probably my fault. I'm a very positive person. I like to believe in, I believe in bringing people up and not putting them down. And I don't make, aside from eBay authentication, I don't make many negative or rant videos. And a lot of people took that as a rant video, which I didn't set out to do that or feel that it was a rant. I just want to say right off the bat, hey, I apologize to Sports Card Investor. Somebody had made the comment that, I shouldn't call him a scammer. I never called him a scammer. I don't believe he's a scammer. Heck, if he has as much money as he portrays, why would he need to be a scammer? That is not the point. It was actually a bit of a compliment for me to point him out as kind of the symbol of the influencers in the card community, if you think about it. Because he has risen to the upper echelon of influencer. Now, I want to say this about him. His content is great. It's entertaining. It's well done. He spares no expense in making phenomenal videos. He seems like a nice guy. He's obviously been, or from what I know, or what I think, a successful entrepreneur. I don't fault anybody for any of that. I never, ever said he was a scammer, and I don't believe he's a scammer. That wasn't the point. I kind of used a lot of, I kind of used him as a symbolic gesture for all those types of videos, because it is clear he doesn't know cards or the hobby. And I think when I go back and watch, I owe him an apology for this. When I go back and watch, he never once says, you should do what I'm doing. He just goes around and overpays for stuff and shows it, and interviews people and shows it. My concern is again, not that he's trying to scam anybody, but newer collectors watching this might think that what he's doing they should mimic, and if they get burned, it hurts the hobby in general. He walked around and he paid $100,000 for a star Michael Jordan. Now, let me just say this, because many of you, most of my viewers will remember, because I have older viewers like myself. But you will remember that those star cards were considered fake. They were considered homemade, like somebody made them in their basement. And we didn't buy them back in the day. They were unlicensed, and they were just considered kind of fake cards. But times change. So you have, all these years later, And I was watching, him talk to other people and getting their opinion. And they're like, yeah, this could be the next big thing or whatever. So he goes around and he's getting their opinions because he's a newbie to the industry. He says the hobby we love. Well, he just started loving it, when it became a big money-making thing. So he doesn't have the card experience, which is fine. I just think he should tailor his videos more to, when you become powerful, with power becomes responsibility. And he has risen to the upper echelon of influencer in our hobby. And I would like to see him use that, in maybe a better way to promote the hobby, because that would be good for all of us. And I have no problem with him going around and learning as he goes. But it's not portrayed like that. It's more braggadocious. Look what I paid for $100,000. Look what I'm buying this for $10,000. And people might think those are good ideas. So when he was going around to dealers and asking, is this a good deal for this star card? And they're all like, yeah, that's a great deal. And he didn't even negotiate down. He paid the $100,000. It's a fair price. I'm going to pay that. And he went to Probstein. And Probstein told him, yeah, it's a great deal. Well, if that's the case, why does Probstein have one on eBay right now in a 9OC for less than half of that? And I found all these on eBay right now selling for a half. There's a Beckett 8.5 selling for half. There's 7.5 selling for less than half. So if you think $100,000 is a good deal, this is what I'm saying. Then he opens up 1988 Fleer basketball. Now, I opened 1988 Fleer basketball. They're like the 1988 Donruss. You're not going to get all 10s out of those boxes. And for the few stars or cards worth anything in a 10, and you only get 1 or 2 or 3, the likelihood of you getting a 10 is probably not that high, because those cards were notoriously off center, and they didn't, they came out of the pack nicked sometimes. So anybody that would pay $10,000 for a Fleer basketball set from 88 never opened them, right? You're new, you don't know. Now, all these years later, young people could say, oh, wow. But, to his credit, he opened them, he showed you the results. And maybe you learned that maybe I shouldn't pay $10,000 for a 1988 Fleer basketball. Like I said, his videos are well done. He's obviously a successful entrepreneur. And he's done some things and taken a lot of heat, like when he did the NFT thing. I don't fault him for that. Me personally thought it was the dumbest idea ever, but he took responsibility for that. He said, it didn't work, and he's moving on. But that's what entrepreneurs do. I mean, for every one success, they might have 19 failures. And most of the time, you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes. I don't fault him for that. Thomas Edison probably had 99 failures for every success. And he's out there trying things. And he's, come into this hobby because it got hot. And he's trying to, he's selling his website. No problem. It looks like a cool website. Or, I don't do those kinds of things, but I don't think he's scamming anybody. He's a businessman. So I have no problem with that. And he seems like a really nice guy. And so I don't want my video to be construed as hating on him in any way. It's just, if you're going to be an influencer and you know nothing about the hobby, I think his video should be more tailored to that. Like, I'm getting back in cards, or I'm getting into cards. Let's go down this journey together. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to talk to the best minds in the hobby, longtime collectors. I'm going to talk to investors. I'm going to talk to both, collectors, investors. And let's go down this journey together, and I'm going to show you what I go through, kind of thing. Rather than I paid $10,000, watch me pay $100,000, because that's what us longtime or real collectors who actually collect and aren't selling our stuff, that's what is bringing us down. And it's okay. We don't have to like it. We don't have to like it. We don't have to agree with it. It doesn't matter. Things change. And maybe that's, the direction the hobby's going is it's just going to be like a stock market. It's going to be investment and, collectors just need to get over it. That could very well be the case. Times change. We don't have to like it. It's hard, sometimes for us to adapt to this change. But a lot of us have been, through the peaks and valleys. We've been taken advantage of. It took 30 years for the hobby to recover after the early 90s crash, right? Because it brought in greed and overproduction. And to this day, you could go on to Facebook or Craigslist or wherever, and there will be a guy selling his cards in his front. They're all stacked up in his garage, unopened boxes by the hordes. And he can't give them away. And if it crashes this time because the investors flee, if the prices come down, it's going to be 10 times worse because of the amount of money that is being spent. And guess what? That hurts us. That hurts us. And what started this, I believe, is guys selling to their friends or themselves. And they're coming out and saying ahead of time, I'm going to sell this for $1 million or whatever. And then it happens. And, and then what happens? They turn around, they put it on and sell it for $1.2 or $1.3 million. It's almost like they created the price for that. So then the next one sells. And even Vegas Dave pointed out, I watched a video where he was pointing out and showing you how guys were bidding, their friends were bidding up these things. And a lot of these top cards and these auctions, they're just flipped over and over again, the same cards. And so that's frustrating for us collectors because it makes everything we buy more expensive. And if you're a collector like me and, my family is going to inherit my cards, prices going up aren't good for me. I have to pay more to insure them. I have to pay more every time I want to buy a card. And so, unless I would get into financial trouble or just get old and need to go into a home and need the money for, my old age and I'm no longer able to even see the damn cards, then I don't benefit from prices going up. And so real collectors, that's how we feel. That's all. I was voicing my frustration because the influencers in our hobby have no experience. They don't know what they're looking at. And if they're giving out this horrible news and horrible information, then it hurts the hobby as in general. And honestly, guys, I'm just looking out for the hobby and I want to keep things in check. I'm not opposed to flippers. I had this discussion with James last night. I flipped cards to support buying other cards. Bought lots, sold off, the doubles and bought another card. I'm not opposed to. We need flippers. We need dealers. Who are we going to buy from? It's just, it has to be something that is, fair and not outrageous and out of control and kind of mutually beneficial, right? And not. Because as I said on my last video, everybody wants our money. We have people come at us from every angle. We have to pay a lot of money to get a card graded, and then we buy bags to put them in. We buy boxes to put those in. We send out for third-party authentication. We buy on eBay. We pay fees. We pay shipping. We pay everybody. Everybody comes to us, and we fund that. We fund everything. Right? We buy the publications. We pay for VCP memberships. We're buying on the auction houses. And I'm just tired of getting taken advantage of. That's what I said. You just feel like you're getting taken advantage of at some point, and no one's listening to the collector anymore. No one's listening. They have the influencers and the high dollar flippers, and we don't always know if they're even factual. right? They're on there bragging, I want to make this deal for 50,000, and they're selling these cards, and you're like, why are people paying that for these? But they don't actually show their bank accounts. They don't actually show the deals most of the time. They're just telling you what they did. You know, it's like I invest in stocks. I could tell you about all my great runners, but are you going to hear about the ones where I lost money? So anyway, that's where this was coming from. Apology to Jeff. I think he does an amazing job. I think he could be an amazing voice for this hobby. And man, I think he should collaborate with some of the great, the great hobby people in the industries, the great companies, and become a positive influence and, take us down the journey of you learning cards. That's the thing. But like I said, when I revisited it, he never tells you to do what he's doing. He's just filming himself going around and doing these deals and getting people's advice in some cases. And even when I looked back and when he's telling you what cards are hot, he's not necessarily telling you to buy them. He's just pointing out what cards are hot. And there's a place for that. That's useful. That's entertaining. And so, I just wanted to clear the record on this. I sometimes you get a little triggered and, it's been building up. You see backyard breaks and people scamming people. And then, you see that one video that just kind of triggers you. And that's really all that it was about. And so I just wanted to do this follow-up. Hey guys, as always, I thank you for watching. I thank you for your support. And I thank you for your comments.